Today we're talking about age-friendly. Don't think it's just for older adults, it's for young people also. Stay tuned. This is one of my favorite topics, age-friendly community. You know, when I first started working at ARP and I heard about an age-friendly community, I didn't know what it was. Karen, you've been with us for a long time in terms of Auburn Hills being involved with age-friendly, and Jim, you, I think a couple of years as well. So glad to have both of you with us. Thank you for being with us on Real Possibilities. Karen, tell our audience, what is an age-friendly community?
So an age-friendly community is a community that everyone can live in as long and safely as possible. It's a community that's for all ages and all abilities, and it invokes the word community.
Mm-hmm. And that's a good way to say it as well. And it's for, you said, all ages. Mm-hmm. So many times when people think of ARP, they naturally think of, oh, it's for someone 50 and older.
Right.
But a mother crossing the street with a stroller and 2 children and the sign says 35 seconds may need as much time as someone on a walker crossing the street,
Absolutely.
right? So every community thinks they're age-friendly, right? Everybody thinks, oh, we're friendly.
Right.
But there's a distinction. And why did East Lansing get involved in this?
Yeah, well, East Lansing got involved through our senior commission and our primetime seniors program. The seniors commission and the director of the primetime program at the time said, look, we received accreditation. The accrediting body for senior centers is no longer functional, but we were able to be accredited nationally. 1% of seniors programs were accredited. And so we went to city council and said, look, this was back in 2016, 17. And we set up, and I was telling people earlier, we involved everyone in the community. We asked all our boards and commissions to send a representative. And I was insistent on, even if they were one issue advocates or just wanted to complain, bring them in the tent.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So we got everyone. And back to what is age-friendly? It's for everyone.
Absolutely.
From birth to end of life. That's the way we saw it.
And I love what you said about bringing them all in the tent. I was at a couple of those listening sessions, and people do have a one-person issue. You know, they don't like the bike lanes, or they want to do something with the noise level. That's okay. Bring them into the tent.
We made them, all of the committee, the first committee meetings, the first 2, we set it up, we put a chart, 7 flip charts, or maybe it was 8, because it had one of each of the domains, and we put a line down the middle and said, what do you like about this, and what do we need to improve?
Now, you just said something that our audience may not be aware of, and that's domains, the 8 domains.
Yeah, the 8 domains.
All right, share with the audience what the 8 domains are.
We got them all involved, and then we tabulated all that data and then held focus groups.
Do you remember what they are, the 8 domains? Karen, do you remember any of them?
Housing,
transportation,
environmental, I can't remember the exact.
Civic and community involvement, or environmental, transportation, housing,
healthcare,
emergency,
employment,
right.
Employment, civic participation, and there's one more.
Yeah, there is, and I can't remember it right now either, but we'll put them on the screen. People can see those 8 domains, but that's how we categorize the different components of age-friendly. And what's interesting is that most townships, most cities are doing planning anyway, but they're not considering having people stay in place or age in place. They might look at a road, like when the governor talks about the roads, that's part of an age-friendly state, right, which Michigan is. And so communities then begin to look differently at what they can do to keep young people and older adults in their community. There's economic impact to that as well. So when you talk about bringing everyone in, talk about the process, Karen. You've been doing this for how many years now in Auburn Hills?
Since 2013.
Wow, you're one of our first adopters.
We were the first in the state, 14th in the country.
Wow.
And so what we did multiple gatherings. So we did community conversations, and we did it in different areas of the city. So we went to the people. instead of asking them to come to us. So we had 4 different areas that we blocked off, invited people all ages, and we had young adults come in. We had teenagers come in, because what we kept trying to explain is we're not building Auburn Hills for right now. We're looking down the road. What is it going to look like down the road? So the young adults that were there, what do you think it's going to look like? And then we did focus study groups, and I took like all female, all male couples and singles to talk about the future to them. Then we did business roundtables. So we invited businesses that service older adults, because everybody in a business has an older adult, whether it's an employee, a customer, and then all the departments. And then we went to the 2 senior housing. So we gathered from all different. And then we had 2 community events. One was our festival, and one was a health fair, and we did a mini survey right there. You know, they got a pop or something for participating and stuff, because we wanted to reach out to every aspect and every age.
And that's so powerful. I mean, when you do that, there's ownership attached to that as well. And it is the community. It's the people coming together, unity, to build their own community. There's a tremendous amount of information about the economic impact of having people live and stay in their own community. There's also research that's been done that shows, like, I think like 89 or 90% of people surveyed want to age in place. I don't know who those other 10 or 11 are. They probably don't want to be bothered with their children anymore, right? But the majority of people, every single survey shows that almost 90% of everybody wants to. You can't do that if you can't walk across the street, if you don't have the home services that you need, if you don't have any kind of cultural or arts in your community to go to. It's so critically important economically and even just socially and mentally. So what have you done? What's happened what progress has been made in the last, since 2000?
Well, 2017, and we've involved everyone through our Primetime Seniors program, because that's the contact point. But holding our meetings has generated a lot of interest. For example, this summer, we are going to have concerts in the lawn in front of our community center, sponsored by Age Friendly and the Senior Commission.
Very nice, very nice.
Because we wanted people to know, bring the stroller, bring the baby.
Yeah, very nice.
Bring the senior.
Yeah, very nice, very nice.
And I'm very happy to see that we've got that on our schedule for over the summer. In fact, we have a group that we sponsored from through our connection with the university's Age Friendly. Butterfly gardens.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yes, I've seen that before. It's
Yes,
nice.
we've had them at, we had over 1,000 paper butterflies decorated and painted, and they've been at the MSU Federal Credit Union, they've been at our senior center, and they've been on campus at the Butterfly House in the gardens at the greenhouse. And we involve children, seniors, and college students.
Love it. I love it. And there are a lot of partners, there are a lot of people that are connected. In East Lansing, Michigan, particularly, Age Friendly University they're looking at.
Well, that's Michigan
That's
State.
Michigan State
They're
University,
certified
right.
internationally.
Internationally. One of the first to be able to talk
Yes,
about.
right.
And even the new development that's going on, I think the $4 billion development is going to have housing for older adults as well. And housing, we know, is a major issue. Talk about what you've done, Karen, over in Auburn Hills since 2013.
So officially 2014,
14.
conversations started in 2013. So we selected low-hanging fruit and long-term goals. So low-hanging fruit, at the time, our newsletter was all electronic. They had decided to save money on postage and started doing everything electronic. Well, the seniors were talking to all our elected officials who were facilitators and planning commission, and everybody wanted the newsletter back. Now, even folks that weren't seniors, they wanted that paper document. So that came back. Building awareness with about home contractors, universal design. There was huge conversations with universal design. While we can't mandate it per building code, there is conversations. we did long-term goals, and some of the things didn't always work out. One of the ones was we wanted to do a time bank. And what we found that a lot of our long-term goals sometimes didn't work out. A time bank is an expensive venture, and it just wasn't something. But more importantly, I think out of anything is a conversation started. People were talking, people were becoming within the city and the departments, but also our connections with Oakland University. We've got a great program with Hop Up PT. We work with the nutrition program, and we're working with their med school. So it just kind of was like a tumbleweed. People heard about what we were doing, and we were starting to bring in more resources that are going out to the community.
Is it politically charged at all? Have you found that it's partisan in any way? We've always found that talking about age-friendly is a universal conversation on no matter if you're libertarian, whoever you are, whatever, that it's something that everyone's interested in. Have you found that to be the
No,
case?
because everybody ages, doesn't matter your party.
Right. I mean, so there aren't any politics attached to it. If the community can afford it, if there's money in the budget, and that's another affordability. And everyone, I've been all over the state talking about age-friendly since in my 10 years here. And the first thing that people will say is, well, we don't have the money.
Right.
And yet, there's planning that's going on, but it's just they're not thinking about an age-friendly community. They're thinking about specific things that need to be fixed, like a bump, in the sidewalk or a road, but not about a long-term plan. Can either of you address that, talking about how you can use part of your planning, normal planning process?
Fortunately, we don't have a budget through the city council.
You say fortunately.
No, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, okay.
But unfortunately, we don't. But we have a foundation, a nonprofit foundation called Friends of East Lansing Seniors. And they finance a lot of things that couldn't be done. So we can turn to them and say, look, we need, and they'll turn around and help us finance something when it's needed.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's been a great advantage. And they hold a fundraising campaign every year.
Just for age-friendly.
Just for their purposes to help with age-friendly and the seniors program.
Nice, very nice. Yeah, that's nice. That's why then you don't have to worry about people complaining about their taxes being raised as a result of age-friendly.
Well,
yeah.
We're not collecting any taxes for age-friendly.
Friendly, yes, yeah. That's great. The community and the foundation has stepped up to help.
But I remember you mentioning universal design. We were able to incorporate some universal design criteria in our planning, through our planning office. Wonderful. And we're trying to integrate all of the 8 domains now in the planning process.
I love it. I love that. That's great.
Yeah, I don't know how it's going to work. We're going to be meeting sometime within the next month and discussing that issue.
That's so critical. Senator Sarah Anthony, who is the appropriations chairperson in the Senate, and our team talked about meeting with some of the contractors and construction workers residential to talk about universal
we're
housing.
Fortunate we have
talk about universal housing.
Contractor. He does work on helping people keep their homes. You want to stay in your home? Right. Okay, in fact, I just looking at your AARP magazine, and there's talk about, dressing up the house if you want to move out, but most people want to stay.
Right, exactly.
And he does very small jobs that need to be done. I know, I hired him to get a bird's nest out of my attic and rain gutters.
Yeah, and doing small things like putting, grip bars in the restroom or widening a door, doing them over a period of time allows you to stay in your home better as well.
My home has been upgraded with lever handles, grab bars, and all of that in 2003 and 4.
And what kinds of projects have you seen accomplished as a result of Auburn Hills being age-friendly?
So you were talking about universal design, and our community development director, Steve Cohen, my partner in all of this age-friendly Auburn Hills, education. A lot of it was education because, contractors were thinking it's going to cost us more money if we widen the doorway a little bit wider when we're building homes. But the one direction I did receive from my boss at the time was, whatever you create, it's not going to cost us money, right? So, and I said, no, not at all. You know, and that's when you develop those partnerships. And I'll use Oakland University's physical therapy program. We work together to develop a program. It's called Hop Up PT. And it's in-home physical therapy with referrals from the community center, from the community. That's developed into a program now that is covered by insurance, and it's really grown. Our medical students have a telephone reassurance program. It's not medical based, but it's talking. We working with the nutrition department last year. We just finished our kitchen, and it's a cooking kitchen for teaching, and the students had to come in. Their final was to cook for 4 weeks different foods and teach the older adults. But it was the conversation started. Police and fire, they knew of us, but they didn't know what we did. And those conversations started talking about referrals and we do a home repair program. We have a volunteer home repair program, senior home assistance repair program that will put in those handrails and that type of stuff, get the bird's nest out, unless it's in a 20-foot tree. So it was bringing awareness to the community and communicating that. So I've been very intentional about not costing money.
Right, because you were told not to.
I was told not to, So our first round, we were able to have an intern, and that was very helpful. This round, we don't have an intern. We had one for 2 months. But we learned a lot first round, so we learned how to have those group discussions, how to work with our planning commission. They've taken the lead. It's a planning process, as you know.
We're involved.
It's really a planning process.
Our planning director sits in on our committee.
Right. So it was about building connections and bringing resources to the community that the city isn't paying for, but we're getting those connections and that intergenerational connection. And we've been doing the PT for quite a while, and I receive phone calls from some of the students that have graduated in their own profession, and I always tell them, call me. And I've gotten a couple calls, because the one thing I always tell them is, find the senior center in that community you're working in.
Yes. It's always interesting when you sometimes this can be a little friction or chaotic when you get a lot of different people in the room and you're trying to come up with an end game, right? Yeah. With the plan. I often say that unique in our many talents, we can unite in a common goal. And so when you bring all different generations together and people together and to come up with something that everyone feels ownership of. And so for those people who are listening, other communities who are listening, because I know Detroit just came into the age-friendly community. Michigan was declared an age-friendly state. Mayor Bliss, when she was in Grand Rapids, did a phenomenal job in Grand Rapids, intergenerational parks, and where grandparents and children can go and exercise in the same park together or work out while they're swinging together. Detroit's doing all sorts of things with traffic lights. All of that's part of age-friendly. You just put it under an umbrella and start checking boxes.
Yes.
So we've got like a minute left. I want each of you to give folks listening some advice about what they can do to help make their community an age-friendly community, how they can get started doing that. What's the first thing you'd advise them to do?
I would say find your champion in the community. Tailor it to your community. What's good for Auburn Hills is not the same for, Milford or up north. Make it your own and design it for yourself.
Yes,
but find the champion.
Yes, agreed. In fact, you talk about intergenerational. With Michigan State, we now have a program called Generations Connect, where groups of students are signed up to work with individual seniors. And the funny thing is, we've got a list of students waiting because we have less seniors. The whole idea was to reduce isolation.
Right, yeah.
but it's turned into a great success, and all these students, they want to meet people
Absolutely.
in that upper age bracket.
Absolutely. And that's a national program as well. Students in nursing programs or social services programs or social work, they need to know how to work with older adults. And
Right.
that's great experience for them on their resume. And they're there at least 4 years. Sometimes you get a paid caregiver and they're not there for 4 years or 3 years or 2 years. So that both of those excellent pieces of advice. We appreciate you so much and for the work that you are doing. You know, every community should be age friendly. We should feel comfortable walking down the street
Yes.
and safe. And because of the work you do, that's happening. Thank you so much. We look forward to continuing
Well,
to
you're quite
elevate the
welcome.
work you're doing. Thank you. Transportation and things to consider. Thank you so much for being here. What are some considerations that people should ponder before deciding whether or not to tell a loved one to give up driving or not? It's a hard decision to make.
Very hard, absolutely. Well, as people age, they often experience diminishing vision and hearing, and also cognition and physical ability. And those are good prompts for whether or not you should give up driving and consider other modes of transportation.
It's hard to recognize those sometimes. I mean, so what are some of the signs that what do you actually see? Someone being impaired and not able to drive?
Sure. Not being able to see ahead and react appropriately to other stimulus that is outside of their control. That's one of the biggest triggers, I think, or marks of diminishing ability for driving.
And sometimes it's probably a good idea to have them look at other modes of transportation before they get to that point so they're comfortable with those. Is that correct?
Sure, absolutely. Another impetus is also the fixed income that most seniors are on, where the ability to afford gas, insurance, and the general maintenance of a vehicle may be a little bit out of reach for them. So that's another sign.
And there are options. People need to apply for it. Those options are like Spectrum and some of those other options.
That's right. And that Spectrum application is reviewed by a third party. It is Disability Network Capital Area, and the application can be found at cata.org/Spectran.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate you being here today.
Thank you.
I'm Tracy Anderson with Impart Alliance at Michigan State University. Today I'm here with Jennifer and Jen from Mount Pleasant. We're here to talk about direct care and the impact that it has on your lives. Jennifer, tell me a little bit about how direct care impacts you directly.
Your everyday existence. Jen is my caregiver 7 hours a day. And everything Jen helps with, and I often joke she's my right-hand woman, but she's actually my hands because I don't use them as much, or I'm not as able. So little things that people can take for granted. I'm fortunate to have a direct care worker. I'm fortunate to have Jen help me.
And it gets her to stay in her home, which is rewarding to me because I see a difference in people that have been hospitalized or been in their homes, and it's so rewarding to be able to let them stay in their homes. As a direct care worker, it's makes my life happy because, you get to be into a friendship with the people that you're with 7 hours a day, 5 days a week.
Mm-hmm. I would imagine that's very rewarding.
Yes, it is. It makes, and for me, it makes. I've been doing this for a long time, so it just like I love the work, and if you love the work, it's not as much of a work, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely, that makes sense. So beyond the home, you're able to help Jennifer get out into the community and be an advocate. How does that make you feel?
It makes me very honored and proud to be a part of what she's worked so hard for.
Thank you. To learn more about Impart Alliance and our advocacy efforts, please visit our website at impartalliance.msu.edu.
You've got a great story to tell, but I'm going to ask you a question. Why do we keep doing the same thing over and over? Why are we creatures of habit?
Right. Well, I guess that's the way we're made, right? But sometimes we really have to examine why it is we're doing the things we're doing. So I call it the pot roast story. My mom tells this story, how she would always cut the end off. When she and Dad got married, she would always cut the end off the pot roast, you know, before she put it in the oven. And Dad was always like, well, Betty, why are you doing that? Well, then my grandmother moved in with us. And we actually, there were 11 of us in a little house, 8 kids, Mom, Dad, and my grandmother, my Irish grandmother. And Dad finally asked her, he said, Mary, you know, my Nana, Betty always cuts the end off the pot roast. What's up with that? You know, why do you do that? And she said, well, we asked, you know, my mom, and Mom said, well, I do it because you do it. Yeah. You did it. And she's like, oh, I know. It's because during World War II, you know, we had just a teeny tiny apartment with a teeny tiny oven. And I had to cut the end off the pot roast in order to fit it in the oven. So for years after, 20 years, you know, my mom's cutting the end off the pot roast for no good reason. But her mom did it, it was good enough for her. So sometimes it might be a good idea to re-examine why is it we're doing certain things. So you go to a so-called estate planning attorney and they say, oh, you need a will, just a will. Maybe you need more. Maybe you need to be thinking about long-term care. It might work out better for you.
And you also need to communicate, right?
Communication is key.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, David.
Thank you, Paul.
Dr. June, so many people don't know the difference between inflammation and autoimmune. Share with us what they should know.
Well, that's a very large question, and so I'll give you a very small answer. Inflammation isn't necessarily autoimmune, so a lot of people do get that confused. An example, if someone were to hit you with a baseball bat, and I hope that never happens.
Yeah, they better hope it never happens.
Yeah. You're going to swell up and you're going to get localized inflammation from damaged cells. That doesn't mean you have an autoimmune problem. It's just a localized inflammation. Sometimes people get things called gout, and that's technically autoinflammation, and your immune system's trying to fight back, but it's not necessarily autoimmune per se. Now, autoimmune can be a huge variety of things. Most people are aware of lupus or rheumatoid arthritis or psoriatic arthritis. Those are autoimmune mediated diseases where your immune system is attacking your body. So that doesn't mean that inflammation can't be a part of it, but just because something's inflammatory doesn't not necessarily mean it's autoimmune. And just because it's autoimmune doesn't always mean it's inflammatory.
And so what should you do if you're not sure? Do you need to see a doctor regardless?
Start with your primary care, and if you really are convinced you have an inflammatory or an autoimmune problem, see a rheumatologist or an immunologist, and they'll do the workup and see if you indeed have an autoimmune or an inflammatory condition and what to do about it.
And you mentioned gout, you mentioned the baseball bat. Will they be able to distinguish exactly what's going on and what's caused it, or just identify it?
Well, I'd love to say we always and exactly anything. The answer is that they're going to give it the best try they can to try to answer what's going on. We live in a time, though, where rheumatoid arthritis, and to a lesser extent lupus, are pretty obvious when you have the full-blown symptoms, but a lot of this flies under the radar because not everything's read the textbook. Right. So sometimes you get unusual presentations of these fairly rare diseases, and that's when they really have to do blood work and over time and different types of radiology to try to figure out really what the diagnosis is. It's not easy.
And there you have it. Thank you, Dr. June. Appreciate it. And thank you for watching ARP Real Possibilities. Hopefully you'll be in an age-friendly community soon. Thanks.